Book 13. Odysseus leaves Phaeacia and reaches Ithaca. Odysseus paused. All Phaeacians sat in silence without saying a word, spellbound in the shadowy hall. Then Alcinous again spoke up and said to him, "Odysseus, since you're visiting my home with its brass floors and high-pitched roof, I think you won't leave here and go back disappointed, although you've truly suffered much bad luck. And now I'll speak to all men present here, those who in this hall are always drinking the council's gleaming wine and enjoying the songs the minstrel sings. I tell you this: clothing for our guest is packed already, stored in a polished chest inlaid with gold, as well as all the other gifts brought here by Phaeacia's councillors. But come now, let's give him a large tripod and a cauldron, each one of us. We can repay ourselves. We'll get the people to provide the cost. It's too expensive for one man to give without receiving any money back." Alcinous spoke, and they agreed with what he'd said. Then they all left to go back home and get some rest. But as soon as rose-fingered early dawn appeared, they hurried to the ship and loaded on the bronze, which strengthens men. Strong and mighty Alcinous went in person through the ship, and had the gifts stowed below the benches, where they wouldn't hinder any of the crewmen as they plied their oars. Then they went back to Alcinous's home to feast. On their behalf, strong and mighty Alcinous sacrificed a bull to Zeus, god of the dark cloud and son of Cronos, who rules over everything. Once they'd burned pieces of the thigh, they then enjoyed a splendid banquet. Among them, Demodocus, the godlike minstrel, honoured by his people, sang a song of celebration. But Odysseus kept on turning round toward the blazing sunlight, keen to see it set. He so wanted to return. Just as a man longs for supper, when all day long a pair of wine-dark oxen pull a well-made plough through fallow land for him, and as the sun goes down the sight delights him. Now he can prepare a meal, for his knees are tired when he moves. That's how Odysseus rejoiced to see the sunlight disappear. He spoke up at once, addressing the Phaeacians, men who love the oar, and especially Alcinous, saying these words: "Lord Alcinous, of all men most renowned, pour out your libations now, and send me safely off. Farewell to you. Now everything my dear heart once desired has come about, an escort and these gifts, marks of friendship, and may the heavenly gods make me content with them. When I get back, may I find my excellent wife at home with all my family safe, and as for you, may you stay here and make a happy life for the wives you married and your children. May gods grant you success of every kind, and may no evil things afflict your people." Odysseus spoke. They all approved of what he'd said, and ordered that their guest should be escorted off, because he'd spoken well. Then mighty Alcinous addressed the herald, saying, "Pontonous, stir the mixing bowl and serve out the wine to all those in the hall, so once we've prayed to Father Zeus, we may send off our guest back to his native land." Alcinous finished speaking. Pontonous mixed wine sweet as honey, then served it round to all of them, coming up to everyone in turn, and from where they sat, they poured libations to all the blessed gods who hold wide heaven. Lord Odysseus stood up, placed a two-handled cup in Arete's hands, and spoke winged words to her. "Fare you well, O Queen, through all your years, until old age and death arrive, the fate of every human being. I'm leaving now. But in this house may you have much delight from your own children and your people, and from Alcinous the king." Lord Odysseus spoke, then moved across the threshold. Mighty Alcinous dispatched a herald to conduct him to the sea and his fast ship. Arete sent slave girls with him. One held a freshly laundered cloak and tunic. She told a second one to follow on behind, escorting the large trunk. Another female slave brought red wine and bread. Once they'd come down to the ship beside the sea, the noble youths accompanying him immediately took all the food and drink on board and stowed them in the hollow ship. They spread a rug and linen sheet on the deck inside the hollow ship, at the stern, so Odysseus could sleep in peace. He went aboard, as well, and lay down in silence. Each man sat in proper order at his oarlock. They loosed the cable from the perforated stone. Once they leaned back and stirred the water with their oars. A calming sleep fell on his eyelids, undisturbed and very sweet, something very similar to death. Just as 4 stallions yoked together charge ahead across the plain, all running underneath the lash and jump high as they gallop quickly on their way, that's how the stern of that ship leapt up on high, while in her wake the dark waves of the roaring sea were churned to a great foam as she sped on her path, safe and secure. Not even a wheeling hawk, the swiftest of all flying things, could match her speed as she raced ahead, slicing through the ocean waves, carrying a man whose mind was like a god's. His heart in earlier days had endured much pain as he moved through men's wars and suffered on the waves. Now he slept in peace, forgetting all his troubles. When the brightest of the stars rose up, the one which always comes to herald light from early dawn, the seafaring ship sailed in close to Ithaca. Now in that land, Phorcys, an old man of the sea, has his harbour. 2 jutting headlands at its mouth drop off on the seaward side, but on the other slope down to the cove and keep the place protected from huge waves whipped up by stormy winds at sea. In there, well-timbered ships can ride without being moored once they reach that anchorage. An olive tree with long pointed leaves stands at the harbour head, and close behind it there's a pleasant shadowy cave, sacred to the nymphs, whom people call the Naiads. Mixing bowls and jars of stone are stored inside, and bees make honey there. The cave has long stone looms where nymphs weave cloth with a deep sea-purple dye, an amazing thing to see. In there, too, are springs which always flow. The cave has 2 entrances. One, which faces northwind, is the one men use to go inside. The other one, which faces southwind, is divine. Human beings may not go in there, for the pathway is confined to the immortals. They rowed in here, a place they knew about before. Those rowers' arms had so much strength, half the boat which was moving fast was driven up on shore. Once they climbed out of that well-built rowing ship onto dry land, they first took Odysseus out, lifting him from the hollow ship, still wrapped up in the linen sheet and splendid blanket, placed him, fast asleep, down on the sand, then carried out the gifts Phaeacia's noblemen had given him, thanks to the good will of great-hearted Athene when he was setting out for home. They put these gifts against the trunk of the olive tree in a pile, some distance from the path, in case someone came by before Odysseus could wake up, stumbled on them, and robbed him. Then they set off, back to Phaeacia. But the Shaker of the earth had not forgotten those threats he'd once made against godlike Odysseus, so he asked Zeus what plan he had in mind. "Father Zeus, the immortal gods will honour me no more, for these men pay me no respect at all, these Phaeacians, who, as you well know, are my descendants. For I clearly said Odysseus should suffer much misfortune before he made it home. I'd not rob him of his return completely, once you'd made that promise and confirmed it with a nod, but these men carried him, while still asleep, over the sea in their swift ship, set him in Ithaca, and gave him countless gifts, bronze and gold and piles of woven clothing, more than Odysseus ever would have got at Troy if he'd come safely back, bringing his fair share of the trophies with him." Cloud-gatherer Zeus then gave Poseidon this reply: "Mighty Earth-shaker, what strange things you say! The gods are not treating you with disrespect. To heap dishonour on the oldest and the best would be hard to bear. But if any man, seduced by his own force and power, fails to honour you somehow, it's up to you to take your vengeance later. Do what you want, what gives your heart delight." Earth-shaker Poseidon then answered Zeus, "Lord of the dark cloud, I would have quickly done as you've just said, but I was afraid you might be angry, and that I wanted to avoid. But now I wish to strike at those Phaeacians at their splendid ship as it sails back home, after its voyage across the misty seas, so they will stop and never more provide an escort carrying human beings. Then all around their city I'll throw up a massive mountain range. Cloud-gatherer Zeus then answered him and said, "Brother, listen now to what my heart thinks best. When all of them are in the city looking out, as that boat speeds on her way, then turn her into stone close to the shore, a rock that looks just like a rapid ship, so all men will be amazed. Then raise a massive mountain round their town." When Earthshaker Poseidon heard these words, he left and went to Scheria, home of the Phaeacians. There he waited. As their seafaring ship approached, moving quickly on her course, Earthshaker came up and turned it into stone. With the palm of his hand, he hit it once and from below froze it in place. Then Poseidon left. The long-oared Phaeacians, men famous for their ships, spoke to one another. Their words had wings. Looking at the man beside him, one of them would say, "Who has fixed our swift ship out at sea as she was racing homeward, and in plain sight of all?" That's what they said. But they didn't understand why this had happened. Then Alcinous addressed them all and said, "Alas, the prophecies my father used to make so long ago have come to pass. He'd say Poseidon would get angry with us because we conduct all men in safety. He claimed that one day, as a splendid ship of the Phaeacians was returning home after a convoy on the misty seas, Poseidon would strike her and then throw up a huge mountain range around our city. That's what the old man said. And now all this is taking place. But come, let all of you attend to what I say. You must now stop escorting mortal men when any man comes to our city. And let's sacrifice 12 choice bulls as offerings to Poseidon, so he'll take pity and not ring our city with a lofty mountain range." Alcinous spoke. They were all afraid, so they prepared the bulls. Then the Phaeacian councillors and leaders standing by the altar prayed to Lord Poseidon. Meanwhile, Odysseus, asleep in his own land, woke up. He didn't recognize just where he was. He'd been away so long, and Pallas Athene, Zeus's daughter, had shed a mist around him to make him hard for people to identify, so she could tell him everything while his wife, his townsfolk, and his friends would not know who he was, until the suitors' crimes had all been paid in full. And so all things seemed unfamiliar to their king. The long, straight paths, the harbour with safe anchorage, the sheer-faced cliffs, the trees in rich, full bloom. So he jumped up and looked out at his native land. He groaned and struck his thighs with both his palms, then expressed his grief, saying, "Where am I now? Whose country have I come to this time? Are they violent, unjust, and cruel? Or do they welcome strangers? Do their minds respect the gods? And all this treasure here, where do I take that? Where do I go next? I wish I'd stayed with the Phaeacians there. I'd have visited another mighty king who would have welcomed me, then sent me off on my way home. I've no idea now where to put this wealth. I won't leave it here, in case someone robs me and removes it as his spoils. Alas, all those Phaeacians, those councillors and leaders weren't so wise or just. They led me to a foreign land. They said they'd bring me to bright Ithaca, but that's not what they've done. I pray that Zeus, god of suppliants, who watches everyone and punishes the man who goes astray, will pay them back. But come, I'll count these gifts and check them out, just in case these men in their hollow ship have carried away some property of mine." After saying this, Odysseus began to count the lovely tripods, cauldrons, gold, and splendid clothing. It was all there. Then, overwhelmed with longing for his native land, he wandered on the shore beside the crashing sea with many cries of sorrow. Then Athene came, moving close to him in the form of a young man, someone who herded sheep, but with a refined air that marks the sons of kings. She wore a well-made cloak, a double fold across her shoulders, and sandals on her shining feet. In her hand she gripped a spear. Odysseus, happy to catch sight of her, came up and spoke to her. His words had wings. "My friend, since you're the first one I've encountered here, my greetings to you, and may you meet me with no evil in your mind. Save these goods and rescue me, for I'm entreating you the way I would a god, and I've come here begging as a dear friend at your knee. Tell me the truth, so I can understand. What country is this? Who are these people? Is it some sunny island, or a headland of the fertile mainland reaching out to sea?" Athene, goddess with the gleaming eyes, replied, "Stranger, you're a fool, or else you've come from somewhere far away if you must ask about this land. Its name is not unknown, not at all. Many men have heard of it, all those who live in regions of the dawn and rising sun, as well as all who dwell towards the gloomy darkness in the west. It's a rugged place, not fit for herding horses, yet not too poor, although not very wide. There are countless crops and wine-bearing grapes. There's no lack of rain or heavy dew, a fine land for raising goats and cattle. There are all sorts of trees and watering holes that last throughout the year, and so, stranger, the name of Ithaca is even known in Troy, a long way from Achaean land, they say." Athene spoke, and much-enduring Lord Odysseus felt great joy, happy to learn of his ancestral lands from what Pallas Athene said, daughter of Zeus who bears the aegis. So he spoke winged words to her. He didn't tell the truth, but left some things unsaid, always thinking up sly thoughts inside his chest. "I've heard of Ithaca, even in wide Crete, far across the sea. Now I'm here in person with these goods of mine. When I ran away, I left even more there with my children. I killed a dear son of Idomeneus, swift-footed, Orsilochus. In spacious Crete he was the fastest runner of all those who work to earn their bread. He wished to steal away the spoils I'd won at Troy, for which my heart had gone through so much pain, suffering men's wars and dangers on the sea, because I wouldn't gratify his father and serve as his attendant there in Troy, but led another group of my own men. As he was coming home back from the fields, I lay in wait for him with my companions close to the road. There, with my bronze-tipped spear, I struck him. Black night concealed the heavens, and no one noticed us or was aware I took his life. Once my sharp bronze killed him, I ran off to a ship without delay and offered prizes to some fine Phoenicians, as much as they could wish, entreating them, begging them to take me off to Pylos and land me there, or else to lovely Elis, where Epeans rule. Much against their will, the power of the winds drove them off course. They didn't wish to cheat me, but were blown away from there and sailed in here at night. We quickly rowed into this anchorage. Although we needed food, we never thought of dinner. We all lay down where we were. I was so tired, sweet sleep fell over me. They took my goods out of the hollow ship and piled them where I lay, down in the sand. Then they went on board and sailed away for bustling Sidon, leaving me behind with all these troubles in my heart." Odysseus finished. Bright-eyed Athene smiled and stroked him with her hand. Then she changed herself into a lovely woman, tall and very skilled in making splendid things. She spoke to him. Her words had wings. "Any man, or even a god who ran into you, would have to be a cunning charlatan to surpass your various kinds of trickery. You're bold with subtle plans and love deceit. Although you're now in your own land, it doesn't look as if you're going to stop your lies or making up those artful stories which you love from the bottom of your heart. But come, let's no longer speak of this, for we both understand what shrewdness means. Of all men, you're the best in making plans and giving speeches, and among all gods I'm well known for subtlety and wisdom. Still, you failed to recognize Pallas Athene, daughter of Zeus, who's always at your side, looking out for you in every crisis. Yes, I made all those Phaeacians love you. Now I've come to weave a plan with you, and hide these goods Phaeacian noblemen gave you as you were setting out for home, thanks to my plans and what I had in mind. I'll tell you what fate has in store for you. You'll find harsh troubles in your well-built home. Be patient, for you must endure them all. Don't tell anyone, no man or woman, you've returned from wandering around. Instead, keep silent. Bear the many pains, and when men act savagely, do nothing." Resourceful Odysseus then answered her and said, Goddess, it's difficult for any man to recognize you when he meets you, even if he's really wise, for you appear in any shape you wish. But I know well that in years past you've been kind to me, when we sons of Achaea fought in Troy. But when we'd ransacked Priam's lofty city, and sailed off in our ships, and then some god scattered the Achaeans, I never saw you, daughter of Zeus. I didn't notice you coming aboard our ship to keep me safe from danger. So I kept on wandering, my heart always divided in my chest, until the gods delivered me from trouble. Then in the rich land of the Phaeacians your words encouraged me, and you yourself led me into their city. Now I beg you, in your father's name, for I don't believe I've come back to sunny Ithaca. No, I'm footloose in some other country, and you're attempting to confuse my mind. So tell me truly if I have arrived in my dear native land." Then Athene, the bright-eyed goddess, answered him, "That heart in your chest always thinks this way, and that's the reason I can't leave you in distress. You're so polite, intelligent, and cautious, another man who'd just come back from wandering around would have been eager to rush home to see his wife and children. But you're not keen to learn about or hear of anything before you can observe your wife yourself. She's still living in her home as before. Her nights and days always end in sorrow, and she weeps. As for me, I had no doubts, for my heart always knew you'd get back home, although your comrades would all be destroyed. But you should know I had no wish to fight against Poseidon, my father's brother, who bears anger in his heart against you, enraged that you destroyed his dear son's eye. But come, I'll demonstrate to you this land is Ithaca, so you'll be reassured. This anchorage here belongs to Phorcys, the old man of the sea. At the harbour head stands the long-leafed olive tree. Beside it is the pleasant shadowy cave, sacred to those nymphs they call the Naiads. This, you must know, is the arching cavern where you made many sacrificial gifts to those same nymphs to grant your wishes. And there is forested Mount Neriton." As the goddess said these words, she dispersed the mist. Once the land was visible, Lord Odysseus, who had endured so much, overjoyed to see it, kissed the fertile ground. Then, stretching out his arms towards the nymphs, he made this prayer: "You Naiad nymphs, Zeus's daughters, I thought I'd never catch a glimpse of you again. Now I greet you with a loving prayer. I'll give gifts as well, as I have done for you in earlier days. If Zeus's daughter, who awards the spoils, will in her goodness let me stay alive and help my dear son grow into a man." Athene, the bright-eyed goddess, then said to him, "Be brave, and don't weigh down your heart with this. Now let's not delay, but put these goods away in some hidden corner of this sacred cave, where they'll stay safely stored inside for you. And then let's think about how all these things may turn out for the best." After saying this, the goddess went into the shadowy cave and looked around for hiding places. Odysseus brought in all the treasures, enduring bronze and gold and finely woven clothes, gifts from the Phaeacians. He stored these carefully, and Pallas Athene, daughter of Aegis-bearing Zeus, set a rock in place to block the entranceway. Then the two of them sat down by the trunk of the sacred olive tree to think of ways to kill those arrogant suitors. Bright-eyed goddess Athene was the first to speak. "Resourceful Odysseus, Laertes' son and child of Zeus, think how your hands may catch these shameless suitors, who for 3 years now have been lording it inside your palace, wooing your godlike wife and offering her their marriage gifts. She longs for your return. Although her heart is sad, she feeds their hopes by giving each man words of reassurance, but her mind is full of other things." Resourceful Odysseus then answered her and said, "Goddess, if you had not told me all this, I would have shared the fate of Agamemnon, son of Atreus, and died in my own home. Come, weave a plan so I can pay them back. Stand in person by my side and fill me with indomitable courage, as you did when we loosed the bright diadem of Troy. O goddess with the gleaming eyes, if you are with me now as eagerly as you were then, with your aid I'd fight 300 men if you, mighty goddess, are willing in your heart to help me." Bright-eyed goddess Athene then answered him, "You can be sure I'll stand beside you, I won't forget you when the trouble starts. I think the brains and blood of many suitors who consume your livelihood will spatter the wide earth. But come, I'll transform you, so you'll be unrecognizable to all. I'll wrinkle fine skin on your supple limbs, remove the dark hair on your head, and then dress you in rags which would make you shudder to see clothing anyone. And your eyes, so striking up to now, I'll make them dim. To all those suitors you'll appear disgusting, and to the wife and son you left at home. You must go first of all to see the swineherd who tends your pigs. He's well disposed to you and loves your son and wise Penelope. You'll find him keeping his swine company where they feed by Corax Rock, near the spring of Arethusa, drinking its dark water and eating lots of acorns which make pigs grow rich in fat. Stay there and sit with him, and ask him questions about everything. I'll go to Sparta, land of lovely women, and there, Odysseus, I'll summon back your dear son Telemachus, who has gone to spacious Lacedaemon, to the home of Menelaus, to find out news of you, to learn if you are still alive somewhere." Resourceful Odysseus then answered her and said, "Why did you not tell him, since in your mind you know all things? What did you intend? That he'd experience hardships on his trip across the restless seas, while other men were eating up his livelihood?" Athene, goddess with the gleaming eyes, then said to him, "Don't let your heart get too concerned with him. I sent him off myself, so he might earn a well-known reputation going there. He's not in trouble, but sits there in peace in the home of the son of Atreus, with countless fine things set before him. It's true, some young men in a black ship are lying in ambush, keen to murder him before he gets back to his native land, but I don't think that's what will come about. Before that happens, earth will cover up many suitors who consume your goods." As she said this, Athene touched him with her staff. She wrinkled the fair skin on his supple limbs and took the dark hair from his head. His arms and legs she covered with an old man's ancient flesh, and dimmed his eyes, which had been so beautiful before. She dressed him in different clothes, a ragged cloak, a dirty tunic ripped and dishevelled, stained with stinking smoke. Then she threw around him a large hairless hide from a swift deer, and gave him a staff and a tattered leather pouch full of holes and with a twisted strap. When the two of them had made their plans, they parted, and Athene went to Lacedaemon to bring back Odysseus's son.